everybody. Hey, hope everybody had a great New Year's and a very good Christmas. I did. The only problem I had was early December. Wanted to start working on the rest of this background building, with the grain elevator and everything. And went to order the wood. I needed it's was it 6 by 12? I think it is 6 by 12 clapboard, and I accidentally ordered 4 by 4, and 4 by 4 clapboard is just not going to work right. I'll be able to use it on other projects, but just not for this one. So I'll have to wait a couple of days before I can order some. Well, back then I had to wait a few more days before I could order any. I'm still kind of waiting. With Christmas with Christmas that came up and everything, money was spent on a few other things. So still waiting for the wood on this project. But in the meantime, I started another project that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. And let me show you what that project is and the reasoning behind it. Okay, first off, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I use straight DC for the narrow gauge part of the railroad, and I use DCC for the standard gauge HO. And my DCC control is what's called a DCC EX, what used to be DCC++. And what it involves is a Raspberry Pi microcomputer running a Raspbian OS and a JMRI. It is connected to an Arduino Mega microcontroller and a motor controller shield on top of that. And then I have the 15 volt 5 amp power supply from an old laptop, Toshiba. And so what happens is you fire this up and JMRI comes up. And then to actually do train control, I have to use my phone. And I use either engine driver or cab engineer. And so they start up and I make a connection. The problem is in order to do this, I got to remember to change my settings, my Wi-Fi settings on the phone, to connect to the Wi-Fi on the Raspberry Pi, the JMRI Wi-Fi. And sometimes I forget, and it's a pain about going back and forth. But once I make the connection, I'm using my phone, and I can follow the train up and down. The problem I have is I get messages or phone calls, and I have to stop and be able to answer the phone or do whatever I need to do on the phone. And so I have to stop operating the railroad. Well, one of the things I wanted to do was build my own controller that didn't use the phone, was all standalone, would connect to the Raspberry Pi and do all the controlling, much like these two applications do. So that's what I've decided to do, and that's where we're going to go with this little project. Okay, for my new project, the first thing I was going to need was a display. And what I decided to buy was this 4-inch, it's a SPI TFT module from the manufacturer's Hosand, and it's a 4-inch display, color touch screen. It has a connector on the side here with a ribbon cable, and then a 12-pin connection over here. Plus, it also comes with a SD card, small SD card, micro SD card connection, if you want to use the SD card. It's 480 by 320, and that's the display I selected for this project. Now, the next thing I was going to need for the project is some sort of a controller. And I have fallen in love with these little ESP32 microcontrollers. It has, 4 meg of memory, and it's a dual core processor, and HBC connector Pretty cool. Has a couple of important things. Not only does it have the 4 meg of memory, but it has built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So I don't need any other adapters or anything else for this controller to be able to connect via Wi-Fi to my JMRI system. So this is it. The two primary things I need: the display and the controller. Okay, so my next step is, and I've just completed this, I've come up with a wiring diagram showing the connections between the TFT display and the ESP32 pins and what their functions are, so I keep this all straight. Again, this SD card is optional, but I went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and wire it up. And that's supposed to be a 5 right there. Printer's playing games. And also, both the ESP32 and the display can run either on 3.3 volts or 5 volts. I'm going to be using a 5 volt power supply just for testing and making sure everything works. Same with this LED thing here. I'm just going to strap the same wire. So this will be 5 volts also. But so now I've got a wiring diagram. Next step will be to put this on a breadboard. And I always breadboard things first. That way I can make sure that everything works and I can make any adjustments in the wiring that I need as I start developing the software. So breadboard and then software development. Okay, well, next day, in about an hour of fiddling around, I finally got this thing wired up. Now what I did is I put the ESP32 on a little carrier board that actually this board comes with this. When I bought these, I'll put a picture up here, but when I bought the ESP32s, it comes with this little carrier board that has extra little power supply and other stuff on it. I won't be using this in the final product, but it's really handy for, again, doing breadboarding and testing and stuff. So ESP32 is on this little carrier, and then my breadboard fixture is all wired up. And at the end here, there's another little thing that I have for the breadboard. It's a power supply. It doesn't quite fit my breadboard properly. As you can see, there's a little overhang. And it's the capability of doing dual power supply, 5 volt or 3 volt, 5 volt or 3 volt over here. So I just have the other little piece here taken off so this fits in. And nice thing about this, it's got an on-off button and a light that tells me it's got power, that it's reading power. So I can power it from here, or I can power it from here and start doing my development. I'll be doing the powering from here because I'll have this thing connected to my PC while I'm doing the development. But so I've got all the pins wired, everything wired up pretty much the way it will be when I do the final assembly. The plus and minus, or the +5 and the ground are coming out here using the same 5 volts that this is using. So and if I want, I can just plug 5 volts into here. Actually, the power supply is 9, regulators down to 5 or 3, and I can power both of them this way too. But so wired, going to test it to make sure everything works, I don't get any smoke, and then we'll start some software development. Okay, so one of the first things I did after I got everything connected to the breadboard and wiring in was create a little touchscreen app to verify that I could control the screen and read from it and do all the necessary stuff for the main program. So as you can see, I just have 2 buttons, and if I press one, it changes color. You may not be able to see it very well on the screen, but it changes color and it updates the display down here. You can see as it updates. But so anyway, now I know I can control the screen, read buttons from code on the ESP32. Now I apologize for the lighting. I'm at my computer station and it's not set up for doing video. So the next step is, now that I know that I can do this, start working on how to read and work with the JMRI. One of the other things that I meant to say was I am using the Arduino code, and the library I'm using is the Lovyang GFX library to control this. I found it was the easiest one where I could set up and use the pins that I wanted to use. And so that's working with that library and this code. So now I can continue on. Now the other thing that I'm going to be doing that is new for me is I'm going to be using artificial intelligence. I'm going to use an AI system. And this system is anti-gravity, and it is created by Google. And it uses several, I have the potential to use several different variations or their AI systems. In this case, I'm using the anti-gravity with Gemini 3. And so what I did here was, just to start off with, is I had it examine my code. I put the code up in here that I was doing for the simple button test. And I asked it here if it could examine my code and tell me what I could do to improve it and make changes. And so it came back with all of this information over here and examined my program. And it's not a very big program, but it came back and examined it and gave me all kinds of information about the program, what I could do to change it, make it better, or slightly improvements. So I'm going to be using this to help me learn more about the JMRI, and obviously more about using this display down here. So it'll be kind of an interesting project, an interesting thing. Okay, finally got the project done. At least the software part is all done. Got it running, tested it a little bit, and seems to be working pretty good on the breadboard. And then I'm getting ready to transfer it over to what I figure might be a final product. And but anyway, a couple of things. Again, still using the Lovyang GFX library for the display, and we did some research on how to communicate with JMRI, and there were a couple of libraries that were available, and reviewed them, and I liked them, but and as I was playing with it, anti-gravity convinced me to write my own, and it said that together we could come up with a really good library. So we ended up writing our own H-file Y-throttle client, and it is what takes care of all of the communications to the JMRI system. All of the handshaking, all of the messaging, all of that information is all handled in this one file here. So that was the big thing, learning how to do that, and then getting all the communications down, setting up passwords and setting up communication, handshaking, all of the different message formatting and stuff like that. So that was a big learning curve, obviously for both JM or anti-gravity and myself. But learned a lot in the last 30 days. That was pretty good. So now that I've got this done, I'm ready to mount it on some hardware, mount the hardware all together, and do a final test and see what happens. So that'll be the next thing. Let me see what I got for mounting this up and going from there. Okay, so here we are. Got it mounted, the display and the ESP32 mounted and wired up. So basically I have it mounted onto a fiberglass perf board. I've had this stuff for years. Still got about a square foot, but that, and then header pins. I have a set of single row header pins, and yeah, so several of those. Wire, I have I think this is 28 gauge wire, spools of 28 gauge wire, obviously some shrink tube, And then the odd thing, I went with a micro USB connector, and this is these came with a set. It came with a set of 5. I screwed one up, so but I still have 3 more for whatever projects. The reason I went with the micro USB is because I have a whole bunch of these cables and power supplies that use this. In fact, one of the things I did just recently is I ordered a new cable for this, just for this. The outlet strip that I'm going to connect this power supply to is at the back of the layout. So I ordered a 6-foot USB cable, USB-A to USB micro. And that'll give me plenty of room to be able to move up and down the layout. So it's all mounted. I had it tested a couple of times and it all works. So one of the things I'll do is as I'm doing all this, showing all this stuff, I'll put up some pictures. So there should be some photos of where I got these. Obviously, Amazon. Got it all from Amazon, except the perf board. Perf board predates Amazon by about 30 years. So, yeah. Okay, so let me show you this thing in action. Okay, let's see if I can do this without making a big mess of things. Once the controller makes connection with JMRI, the first thing it does is it gives you a list of the locomotives on the roster. Now, I don't have very many real locomotives. Several of these are just fake, just to add to the list for testing. But it displays 4 buttons. The first 4 locos then it finds in the roster. If you press the down arrow, it will scroll down 1 until it reaches the end. Scroll back up, and it'll find you can find the locomotive that you want. Now I chose this direction instead of inputting the number and selecting whether it's long or short address. Thought this would be easier for me. I have a limited number of locomotives. It's never going to be huge, and the up and down thing just works really easy. So I select my locomotive, and then it comes into the control page. And I have 14 function buttons. And I figured if I looked at the list of stuff functions on this one locomotive, and it's the one that has most of the sound and everything else. And 14 was good enough. I could, if I needed to, I could take some of the higher numbers and assign them down to a lower number, function number. But so that's how that works. Okay, so power on. You hear the locomotive start up. Okay, then I'm in forward right now, so if I do +1, 2, 3, locomotive will start moving, and it should come into the screen here in a second. There we are. Now I can do the lights, bell, horn, then I can do slowing it down, keeps track of the speed. I can stop. Okay, go into reverse. The light comes on for reverse. There's the lights on for reverse. And I can speed it up to 10, and it takes right off. Shows me 10 speed. Then I'm in reverse. I can slow it down to 7 or 8. Sound horn. Stop. It has stopped. That's it. Turn off the power. Power's off. So that's it. I have forward and reverse, stop, +10, +1, -10, -1, a scroll bar that will show. And also, let me go ahead and turn power back on. I'll go into forward, and I can use the scroll to adjust the speed also. And there we go. Yeah, so everything works. Let me put it in reverse and bring her back. So there we are. And again, if I want to change locomotives, I can change the locomotive control. Simple up and down. Now the back here will go back to reconnecting. I almost may think about taking that off. Unless I lose connection, I go there. But yeah, that's it. It works. Now I just got to find a case. And I'm off and running. All right. Okay, well, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I don't know how much you could learn off of this. It was a learning experience for me. It was a lot of fun. There were tough times when I had myself scratching my head, and I guess, to tell you the truth, the anti-gravity a couple of times, I wasn't sure that I wasn't talking to a human. It is kind of scary. There were a couple of times where it said phrases that, like it was frustrated, it was trying to figure out this and that, and getting things right, especially the JMRI messages and the handshaking and everything else that was required. It was a learning experience, and I learned a lot. And I think my anti-gravity Gemini 3 may have learned something too. Anyway, well, thanks a lot for watching. I really do appreciate it. For those of you who stuck around for this. If you like what you see, if you like following this, please subscribe. Obviously, leave comments. I love the comments. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks a lot, guys. See you guys later. Bye.